Power 98 in Focus.
The centre-left Labour Party has won a huge majority in the UK general election, with Keir Starmer becoming the country's new Prime Minister. It brings to an end 14 years of Conservative rule. I've been looking at the issues for voters heading into the election with Professor Daniel Stevens from the University of Exeter. It's been a difficult few years for the UK, with seemingly one crisis after another since Boris Johnson won a huge majority in late 2019. The world's sixth largest economy has been in a slump, with a slow recovery since the pandemic. Soaring inflation and stagnant wages have also hit people's finances, with economic woes becoming the main election issue, according to Professor Stevens.
Top of the agenda is what Labour has termed the cost of living crisis. The Conservatives will explain this as we had the COVID pandemic, then we had Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which pushed up energy prices. These were very difficult things for governments to deal with. For Labour, it all goes much deeper than that. The cost of living crisis isn't just about those two things, it's about Conservative policies, and policies not just over the last 5 years, but over the last 14 years of austerity and so on.
Whilst both major parties sought to reassure voters that they could boost the economy, there was a much more divisive issue at the forefront of many voters' minds: immigration. Here's Professor Stevens again. There
is this debate, there is this discomfort about what's termed net migration in this country, which is this strange kind of figure in some respects, which is the difference between those who are coming into the country versus those who are leaving the country.
Both Labour and the Conservatives pledged to cut this figure in their campaigns, including Rishi Sunak's controversial plan to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda. But as Professor Stevens explains, cutting net migration numbers has not been an easy goal to meet.
Under earlier Conservative governments since 2010, there have been promises at elections to reduce those numbers to the tens of thousands, whereas the net migration figure has been in the hundreds of thousands for many years now.
Whilst talk of stopping the boats in Rwanda dominated much of the noise around this election, for many voters, the biggest concerns centred around issues that directly impact their day-to-day lives and what was left in their wallet at the end of the month.
Taxation, mortgage rates, these kinds of things, these bread and butter issues, if you like, and public services. National health services always looms large in British elections.
One final issue that caught the eye in this campaign was the Conservatives' pledge to bring national service back to the UK. Rishi Sunak claimed that it would foster the kind of national spirit that was last seen in the country during the pandemic. But as Professor Stevens explains, reaction was more muted than the Conservatives would have hoped.
It's really not had much of an impact at all. It doesn't seem to be a very popular policy. It's not unpopular, but it just hasn't appealed, hasn't actually sparked people's imaginations very much.
Reporting for Power 98, I'm Adam Hancock.
Power 98 in Focus.